Look, my brother, 38 years old. Aaron is super smart book-wise, but can be a fool when it comes to affairs of the heart. I am not mad at him about this, and I don't want to hurt him, but Heather, 27 years old, is a Sith Lord of a woman, powerful, manipulative, and ugly underneath their masks. It sucks more because I introduced them. Heather and I, 32 years old, met playing D&D, and we stayed in touch after that group disbanded. She met Aaron at my birthday party, and they dated in secret for a year before telling me and our mutual friends. They got engaged at my next birthday party, and he asked me to be his best woman, a female best man, because he and I have always been incredibly close. And Heather frowned at him and said that was ridiculous, and I obviously should be her MOH since we're friends and a female, and women go on the bride's side. The moment became awkward, and I told them I am happy to stand for them on either side because at the end of the day, it's about them as a couple, not the individuals, and whatever they wanted worked. I'm an idiot. I can list in great detail all the disturbances in the force that should have told me she was far more trouble than she was worth, even if she were encrusted in diamonds. But my brother had been deliriously happy, and I rolled a 1 on insight, I guess. The short list of problems was that Heather assumed the MOH is also the wedding planner, point of contact to the bride, free makeup artist, and pays for the bridesmaid dresses and the bachelorette party. I compromised by committing to doing the makeup for free. I did modeling in my 20s and know how to make do, help plan the wedding with her and my brother, but could not financially pay for the dresses she wanted. I would pay for mine, but not the others, and the party. So I offered to do one, and she picked the dresses, the more expensive, and I paid it without complaint. She had all the bridesmaids, except for me, pay for the whole Bachelorette trip, even those who couldn't come, but blasted me in the group chat about it, apologizing for the cost of the trip. Since OP's not financially contributing, which led to the girls asking me how and why I ended up not paying anything. Things like that kept happening. I'm going to pause here and say my brother is a senior staff engineer at a huge tech company and teaches programming at a huge school, so he makes plenty of money. When I asked my brother why he wasn't helping pay for stuff at the wedding, he looked incredibly puzzled and asked what I meant. I immediately shut up, realizing I stepped in it, and he said Heather insisted she pay for her half of the wedding, and they jointly pay the joint parts, cake, venue, etc., to say to her haters she's not marrying him for his money. I know I am the AH for stepping in that one, I admit. There's more, but I don't want this to be a novel. So I will jump to the part I might be a moral AH for. I hosted the bridesmaids and Heather at a planning party she wanted, and we sat, working on odds and ends and drinking lots of wine, when one of the girls, Amber, 20 years old, asked if she can change her hair color. Her own wedding is coming up, and she got a long waitlisted spot with a salon on her wish list to dye her hair. And she wanted to go red. For a note, I am black and use weave to shade and style my hair in crimson red twists. Amber said she would want about my shade and that it complemented my skin tone. Heather chuckled a bit at that, and I kind of looked at her like, what? And she said that it was fine, and she's no bridezilla, but she would prefer only one of us look that tacky. I felt hurt as Heather knew me before I went red years ago, and back then told me how great I looked and that I glowed, and now I'm tacky? I asked her if she meant it that way, and she shrugged and said, "It's about the people, not how good they look," she said. I didn't get it, and the other girls started chiming in, and Heather just said, "Oh my God, calm down. I didn't mean anything wrong. I won't let OP ruin my wedding entirely. It's really okay. We all are going to start looking different in our 30s, etc." I was the oldest of all the girls there, and I kind of chuckled it away and said Heather was the one who gives me compliments on how much I still look young and like I did when I did fashion modeling. Nothing big, just commercials and small local runways, as it once was my dream to be like on Victoria's Secret or whatever LMAO. And she snorted something like, "You can't do runway now and you know it." Okay, at this point, I flat out asked her if she had something to say to me. And she said that since I had been so sensitive about her asking me to do things, be the wedding planner, paying for the party, etc., for her wedding, She didn't want to bring it up, but she wanted me to change my look back to when you were so pretty like when we met. That meant going back to my natural light brown hair, losing weight. I am 5'7" and 120 pounds and wearing shapewear to fit in a smaller dress. Then she said, "Look at these lovely ladies, right? It would mean a lot to me if you all could shine up there." I said that was hurtful, and I liked how I look now. I had lots of body issues trying for that dream in my 20s and skipped meals, drank too much and worse, and hated my body. Now I do have curves, and I love them. I offered to wear a wig for the wedding if my hair color was an issue, and she just got quiet and changed the subject. To keep from everyone watching me get upset, I just shook the wine bottle and laughed, saying something about it getting empty and saying I was going to the kitchen to get a fresh bottle. Heather was there after a couple of minutes and started saying, "Hey, you know I love you no matter how you look, babe." And I just shot back, "But I look tacky?" And she shrugged and said that's why she didn't want to ask me. She knew I wouldn't focus on anything other than perceived slights. I handed her the new wine bottle to bring in, and I stepped outside to calm down. It's still on my mind. The wedding is this summer, and I am kicking myself for being sensitive. It's messing with my head. Now I can't even dream of standing up in front of everyone we all know in a bright dress. The MOH dress is a different color and cut than the other bridesmaids, the way I am. But a part of me thinks I am letting her under my skin and should not worry about how I look. I don't want to be MOH regardless, though. Would I be the idiot if I stepped down? I don't even know what I would tell my brother. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Heather is a total B. You are not the a-hole. Either way you go, she is going to make things miserable. Me personally, I'd want out of the wedding party, and I would likely try never to speak to her again, or the rest of the friend group, to be honest. Like, she was horribly rude to both you and the other friend who wanted to change her hair color, and no one called her out. Everyone just sat there and took that abuse? Ouch. If you go that route, I'd suggest a simple message to your brother explaining that you're sorry, but due to some extremely hurtful things that Heather has said, you just can't be in the wedding party. I'm sure she will still talk crap about you to him, but at least you'd have given him a preemptive heads up. Comment 2. Not the a-hole. I just don't understand why the maid of honor is expected to pay for all this crazy stuff. When I was a maid of honor, I did buy my own dress and accessories, but this was my wedding present to the bride, so she saved money. She paid for the other bridesmaid dress and accessories. The Bachelorette was a dinner and a night out at a hotel. All the women who went chipped in, so the bride didn't pay for her room, dinner, or drinks, but it was split evenly amongst everyone. I think it was like an extra $50. I come on here and it blows my mind that maid of honors are expected to spend thousands of dollars on someone else's wedding. Now for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a wild couple of weeks since my last post, and boy, do I have an update for you. Remember how I was torn about being the maid of honor for Heather, my brother Aaron's fiancée? Well, things have escalated, and not in a good way. First off, let me give you a bit of context about Aaron. He's always been the kind of guy who sees the best in people, sometimes to a fault. He's the kind of person who would give you the shirt off his back, even if it was the last one he had. And Heather? She's always had this way of getting what she wants, and I've seen it firsthand. I mean, she convinced me to pay for those bridesmaid dresses without batting an eye. Now, on to the juicy stuff. After the whole tacky comment Heather made about my hair, things got tense. I tried to brush it off, but it kept eating at me. I mean, this was the same woman who used to rave about my red hair, and now suddenly, I'm not fitting into her perfect wedding image. But here's the kicker. Aaron had no idea about any of this. He thought Heather was handling the wedding planning with grace and fairness. So I decided to have a heart-to-heart with him. I told him everything. The comments, the demands, the way she was treating not just me, but the other bridesmaids too. Aaron was shocked. He had no clue Heather was acting this way. He tried to talk to her about it, but she played the victim, saying I was blowing things out of proportion. That's when things got really heated. One evening, Erin overheard Heather on the phone with one of her friends. She was laughing about how she had everyone wrapped around her finger and how she was going to have the perfect wedding, no matter what she had to do or who she had to step on. Erin confronted her, and that's when the bomb dropped. Heather admitted that she didn't love Erin the way he thought she did. She said she was more in love with the idea of being married to someone successful and well off. My brother was devastated. He had poured his heart into this relationship, and to hear that it was all a facade, it broke him. The wedding is off. Erin called it quits right then and there. He's been staying with me since the confrontation, trying to piece things back together. It's been tough on him, but I think he's starting to see that he's better off without someone like Heather in his life. As for me, I've been dealing with the fallout. The other bridesmaids are relieved that they don't have to deal with Heather's demands anymore. But they're also worried about Erin. We all are. He's a great guy who got caught up with the wrong person. And Heather? Last I heard, she was trying to save face by telling everyone that it was a mutual decision to end the engagement. But we all know the truth. She was exposed for who she really is, and now she's just trying to do damage control. It's been a tough lesson for all of us, especially Erin. But if there's one thing I've learned from this whole mess, it's that sometimes the people we think we know can surprise us, and not always in a good way. Erin's heartbreak is a testament to that. Stepmom tries to replace my mom with papers, but I tear them up and the family gasps. She's clueless that payback's coming. I, 21-year-old female, recently lost my temper and may have gone too far. My mom died when I was 10 due to complications in labor. Neither she nor the baby made it. My father moved his then-girlfriend in 4 months later and married her 3 months after. Yes, it's been all but verbally admitted that he was cheating on my mom, and my maternal family have yet to let it go. My father didn't get anything due to my mom's will and their prenup. I didn't have a good relationship with his wife from the start. She supposedly means well, but she has this desperation to claim me as her daughter. Literally. My stepmother's first words to me that I can remember were how she couldn't have a child of her own, and she was so happy she now had a daughter. No boundary I set was acknowledged, and everything was about her and her desire for a daughter. Birthdays, Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, and so on would be turned into mother-daughter events, and if I don't participate, she would cry, and my father would say I'm breaking their hearts. It never mattered what I wanted or how I felt. Her feelings were and are more important to both of them. I pretty much cut contact with my father when even my sweet 16 was turned into a spectacle so his wife could make a speech about her daughter. I moved in with my paternal grandparents and then eventually my maternal grandpa to try and get more distance. And cutting contact with her and my father did nothing. My stepmother continued to obsess over me being her daughter. Examples include sending "Mom misses you" letters to my grandparents' house and then to my college dorm, friending classmates and friends online to get in contact with me, convincing people she knew I'm actually her biological daughter. As for what happened, that may make me an AH. Christmas 2023 has just passed, and the party my paternal grandparents hosted was where I lost it. I love my grandparents, especially my grandfather. Neither of them particularly liked my stepmother, and after I went low contact with my father, they pretty much started to act like she didn't exist. She stopped getting invited to things, and my father stopped coming because of that. This year, they came to the party, and my grandmother, as sweet as she is, convinced me and my grandfather to just ignore them rather than making them leave. That was fine with me. And then it went downhill rather quickly. My stepmother would constantly try to interact with me, even after being told no. I started ignoring her after the third attempt to start a conversation, and as always, the waterworks started. She started what I think was a rehearsed speech about love and family. I'll admit I zoned out for most of it until she pulled out a little packet of papers. She tried to give them to me, saying it was a late Christmas present, an early birthday present. I still didn't take them, and she started sobbing before saying they were adult adoption paperwork. She wants to be my mother for real. We were by the cake table when this happened. I was seeing red by that point, and I grabbed one of the cutting knives, blade down. I handed it to her and said, "If you want to be my mom so bad, then die. My mom is dead." And I think I was on autopilot because I don't remember much after this. It's been a few days, and surprisingly, most of my paternal family is on my side. My father called me heartless, among other things, and my stepmother's family have been harassing various family members. I blocked them years ago. To an extent, this is less an A to post and more a how do I proceed post. I don't want to apologize, especially because this is legitimately the longest this woman has gone without trying to get in contact with me. Honestly, I think apologizing would make her think she can restart her antics again. I also don't think I would get a restraining order that's approved. Been there, failed twice, despite her harassment. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. If your dad thinks you're heartless, he can thank himself for that. You may have been able to have a good relationship with your stepmother had he not cheated, moved her in so quickly, and supported her trying to force the relationship. He didn't skip a beat, remarrying so soon after his wife and baby died. Like he didn't even care. Maybe heartlessness is genetic. I don't actually think you're heartless. Comment 2. How you proceed is block her, block your dad, block her family, thank your own family for being supportive, and ask them to help you avoid ever seeing either of them again in your life. If she keeps bothering everyone you know, document every single point you become aware of until it starts amounting to enough for a restraining order. Now for the update. Hey everyone, a lot has happened since my last post, and I've got to tell you, things have only gotten more intense. After the Christmas incident, I thought things might cool down, but boy was I wrong. My stepmother, let's call her Linda, didn't take my outburst lying down. She's been on a mission, and it's like she's got a vendetta now. But let me back up a bit and fill you in on some history that's been fueling this fire. Before my mom passed away, she and Linda actually knew each other. They weren't friends, but they moved in the same social circles. I found out from my maternal aunt that Linda always seemed envious of my mom, especially of her relationship with my dad. It's like she's been trying to step into my mom's life ever since, and I'm the last piece of the puzzle she's desperate to fit. Now, back to the present. After the party, my dad and Linda left in a huff, and I thought that would be the end of it. But Linda started a campaign against me. She's been reaching out to family members, trying to turn them against me, painting herself as the victim of my cruelty. She even went as far as to contact my maternal grandpa, trying to guilt him into convincing me to accept the adoption papers. My grandpa, bless his heart, has always been my rock. He told Linda off in no uncertain terms, reminding her that she's not my mom and never will be. He's been my biggest supporter since my mom died, and he's not about to let Linda rewrite history. But Linda's persistence is something else. She's been showing up at places she knows I'll be. Just last week, I was at a coffee shop with friends, and there she was, sitting at a table across the room, staring at me with those tear-filled eyes. I ignored her, but when I left, she followed me out, trying to hand me the adoption papers again. I refused to take them, and she caused a scene right there on the sidewalk, crying and pleading for me to give her a chance to be a real family. My friends were shocked. They knew things were bad, but they hadn't seen Linda's behavior firsthand. They've been super supportive, but it's clear Linda's not going to stop. And then there's my dad. He's been trying to play the peacemaker, but it's obvious his loyalties lie with Linda. He's been calling me, asking me to apologize, to smooth things over. I can't believe he's still taking her side after everything. It's like he's completely blind to how much she's overstepped. The tension has been building, and it all came to a head last weekend at my paternal grandparents' anniversary party. Linda wasn't invited, but that didn't stop her from showing up unannounced. She walked in like she owned the place, making a beeline for me. I was talking to my cousin, who's always been more like a sister to me, when Linda interrupted us. She tried to hand me the papers again, but this time my cousin stepped in. She snatched the papers from Linda's hand and tore them up right in front of her. Linda's face went white, and then she turned red with anger. She started yelling, accusing my cousin of ruining her life, of stealing her daughter from her. It was a mess. My grandparents were upset. My dad was trying to calm Linda down, and I was just standing there, feeling like I was in the middle of a storm. My cousin was unapologetic, telling Linda she had no right to harass me like this. The party ended early, and the family is more divided than ever. Some are on my side, saying Linda has crossed too many lines. Others think I should just give in to keep the peace. But I can't do that. I can't let her erase my mom's memory and take her place. My call to child services backfired, thought I was helping. Turns out it's a skin condition, and now she won't forgive me. Families torn apart. I, 49-year-old man, have a cousin, 34-year-old man, whom I am somewhat close to, mostly for convenient reasons as I live just a 20-minute walk away. He's unfortunately not the brightest light in the Christmas tree, but he means well and hardly ever loses his temper. He has a wife, 32-year-old woman, who is the complete opposite of him. I'm not sure why, but they get along enough to get married. I sound judgy, but you'll soon see where I'm going with this. The wife gave birth to a baby boy about a month or so ago. No one was allowed to meet the baby except very few people to prevent the spread of germs, which is understandable. Then I get a call from my cousin asking me if I can buy some groceries and maybe takeout. He gave me a list. He said his credit card is maxed out and will pay me later, but I said, don't worry about it. I got all the things he asked me and put it in one of those little shopping cart things I use when I go to the fruit market. Then I headed to my cousin's. His wife looked incredibly stressed out, but thanked me for bringing food. I placed the food in the pantry and fridge. She said I can just shove it anywhere, and she wanted to eat the takeout food right away. Then her son spat up where she looked like she wanted to scream. She put the baby on the change table and began to strip him out of his clothes, and he was crying. So I tried to distract the baby to make him laugh while his mom was focused on changing him. It didn't do anything. He kept crying. Then I noticed something horrifying. The poor baby had bruises everywhere and in weird places, but it really shook me. He had blue bruises on his shoulders, back, and even on his feet. I was shocked, and I mentioned it to the wife where she just said, it's birthmarks. No, I don't think so. They were bruises. But I just asked if the baby maybe fell or something before, but she just snapped and said, they're birthmarks, and I'm tired and starving and done talking. She placed the crying baby upstairs and came back down with the baby monitor screen and ate the takeout food without another word. The baby was crying, but she did nothing and just ate. By then I was just scared because she looked pissed and ready to throw something. So I just said goodbye and messaged my cousin about the bruises. He said they are birthmarks, and I asked him if that's what his wife said, and he said yes. I was really worried about the baby. The wife seemed very stressed and unhappy, and I didn't directly witness her being aggressive to the baby, but maybe because I was there. But bruises are enough proof that something is going on. So I called the child services and explained the situation. Am I the idiot for calling child services? And yes, I already did call them and left information, but they don't tell me what they are going to do or how severe the situation they think it is. At least it sounds like it's not a call 911 sort of situation. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, no idiots here for now. I think you did the right thing. However, NTA implies there is an AH in this situation, and I don't see one yet. Sometimes babies are born with Mongolian birthmarks. She also sounds like she's an overwhelmed new mom. Unless those marks are found to be bruises from abuse, she's NTA either. You better be prepared if they do turn out to be birthmarks, though. She'll never forgive you. CPS can save lives, but sometimes they ruin them. CPS having a file on you, whether it is warranted or not, is not a good place to be. Hopefully they are bruises, though. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Some people here mention Mongolian spots, birthmarks that look like a bruise, which is real. But in this case, when you add to the whole situation the stress of the parents, the baby left crying, the impatience, the financial struggle, etc., I think you did the right thing. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a week since I posted about my cousin's baby and the situation with the bruises that look like birthmarks. I've got an update, and let me tell you, it's It's been a whirlwind of a week. So after I called child services, I couldn't stop thinking about the baby. I was worried sick. My cousin and I had always been the kind of family who looked out for each other, even though we weren't the closest emotionally. I remember when we were kids, he fell out of a tree and broke his arm. I was the one who ran to get help. That's just how our family works. We're there when it counts. A couple of days after the call, my cousin reached out. He sounded off, like he was trying to sound normal but couldn't quite hit the mark. He asked if I wanted to come over and see the baby, said his wife was out with her friends and he could use the company. I agreed, thinking it might be a good chance to see how the baby was doing. When I got there, my cousin looked like he hadn't slept in days. Dark circles under his eyes, hair a mess. But the baby, he was asleep in his crib, looking peaceful. I asked my cousin straight up about the bruises, and he finally broke down. He told me they weren't birthmarks or bruises. The baby had a rare condition that caused discoloration on his skin that looked like bruises. He showed me the medical reports, and I felt like the biggest jerk. But that wasn't the only bombshell. My cousin confessed that his marriage was on the rocks. His wife, who had always been the fiery one, was struggling with postpartum depression. She'd been lashing out, and he was at his wit's end trying to keep everything together. He hadn't told anyone because he was embarrassed. I could see the pain in his eyes, the same kind of pain he had when he broke his arm all those years ago. I stayed with him for a while, just talking and helping out with the baby when he woke up. It felt good to be there for him, like we were kids again, climbing trees and scraping knees. The next day, I got a call from child services. They had visited and found nothing wrong. They explained the baby's condition to me, and I felt a mix of relief and guilt. I apologized to my cousin for not believing him, and he said he understood why I did what I did. But here's where things get even more complicated. My cousin's wife came back from her night out, and she was furious that I was there. She accused me of meddling and trying to break up their family. It didn't matter that I was just trying to help. In her eyes, I was the enemy. She kicked me out, screaming that I was never to come near her or the baby again. My cousin tried to calm her down, but she was having none of it. I left, feeling like I'd made everything worse. Now, I've been getting calls from family members asking what's going on. Rumors are flying, and somehow, the story got twisted. People think I called child services because I thought my cousin's wife was harassing the baby. That's not what happened at all, but you know how these things go. Once a story starts, it takes on a life of its own. I've been trying to set the record straight, but it's like fighting a losing battle. My cousin is caught in the middle, trying to protect his wife and baby while also dealing with his own feelings of betrayal and hurt. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.